Hello everyone, my name is Yogi and today we will try to demo a Spring Boot application which will authorize a user using OAuth2 protocol. And this particular demo we will try to use different things with the Spring Boot application. Like out here we will use the Spring Boot version 3.1.1 and JDK 17, and for build tool we will use a Gradle. You can use any of the build tool, but we will use Gradle 7.6.1. IntelliJ IDEA as a tool. You can use STS also. And to register our application, as our application will be a OAuth2 application, so we will use Okta to register our OAuth client. Okay, so out in this particular session we will try to create a Spring Boot application, and we will see how login and logout handle works, and then we will register a application as auth client in Okta, and then in the later stage we will do a application demo, and we will discuss the what we will do. We will create a Spring Boot application, and we'll implement Spring security and auth2 protocol. Okay, and we'll see how a social logging can work, and then we will create an individual user which can be logged into the system, and how a auth2 protocol will work in the behind the scene. Okay, so that's the agenda of this particular demo. And apart from this, like what all tools we require to implement this particular Spring Boot application. We require any of the ID. Okay, like out here I am using IntelliJ ID, and then you can use any of the build tool like Gradle or Maven. I am using a Gradle build tool, and any of the SDK, like out here I am using SDK 17, which you can see. Like, so I'm using SDK 17 out here. Okay, application, initial Spring Boot application, we will move to any of the browser, and then we will move to this particular site, start.spring.io. okay, and in this, we are using a project which is a Gradle project, and we require a language, so we have selected a Java language, and then we need to choose a Spring Boot we need to choose a Spring Boot version, so 3.1.1, but I will be using 3.1.1 in my example. Okay, and then we need to provide a group name and the artifact and the description what we are trying to do. So we are creating a demo demo Spring Boot project using OAuth. Okay, and then we have selected a packaging as a jar and using Java version as a 17. Then we need to select some of the dependencies, like Spring security we requires, OAuth2 we requires, okay, OAuth2 client we requires. Okay, and then we require dev tools, as locally we will develop a application, so to help the developer we require a dev tool library. And then Spring Web we can use, and Lombok we can use. Lombok is for particularly to avoid the boilerplate codes. We can use the Lombok. Okay, so all these libraries we generally require to create a Spring security project. Okay, so if I show you like how my project will look like, so my project will look like this. Okay, so my project will look like this, and we will be having all these classes, OIDC application, and all these classes will be there. As I'm already having the downloaded version of it, so we will look into that version, but you can download from here and then you can start working on it. we have created a Spring Boot application through the spring.io site, and the same project I have onboarded out here, and we'll do some configuration level changes, and then we will see what all configuration changes are required. Okay, so like out here, let's move for the project. Okay, so let's see what all things we have. So I'm using 3.1.1. okay, so you can use 3.1.2 also, that is fine. Okay, but make sure that your version is compatible with the Java. Then these two dependencies are very important dependencies, because we are using OAuth client and the Spring security. So these two libraries are very much required to implement it. Okay, and then let's see what all code level changes are required. So you need to implement a security config file, which will be having which will state like what all we will implement a security filter chain, and then we will say like these all URLs should be protected, these all URLs should not be protected. Okay, those kind of configuration will do. So this is a Spring security config file where we have to configure annotations as we are making some configuration level changes, and you need to enable web security to implement it. Okay, so let's see which method is very much important. So you need to create a bean on top of a filter chain. Okay, so this method is required. Okay, so let's see what all I have written into this particular method. So we are saying like URL with the slash and images should not be protected, it should be permitted in all the cases. And and then we are saying like apart from these two URLs, everything should be authenticated. And for OAuth to login, we have provided some configuration level changes, like we are using login success handler. Like if something should happen for the OAuth to login, then what should happen. Okay, and we have provided a logout changes, like what should happen post within the logout process. Like we are deleting the cookies, we are invalidating this session, and this is the custom logout URL which we created. Okay, by default it will be /logout, and then we provided a logout /success URL, like what should happen post successfully once we are done with the logout. Okay, and I have disabled the CSRF. Why I have disabled the CSRF? Because I will try to show you if you want to log out using the GET API, then you have to disable the CSRF. But this is not a best practice. Like it should be a post goal, the logout should be a post goal, so you make it enable. But as we are doing a demo purpose thing, so we have disabled it, and that's all is required out here in the security configuration file. What is required in the application level files. Okay, so let's go to the resources file. Like you can create a application.properties file or application.yml file, any of the file you can use, where you have to provide the OAuth client information. I have provided the OAuth client information out here, because as for login we have adopted OAuth client, so we need to or to login we have adopted, so for that we need to provide OAuth client information. So this configuration is required. Spring security OAuth client registration, so we are registering a client. Okay, and this is our client ID, this is our client secret, although this is a incorrect secret, because I wanted to have something to show you. So this is the client ID and this is the secret which we have. Okay, and these are the scopes, like once what all information we require from the authorization server.
So we have provided this information out here, like we are looking for the open ID, profile, and the email address of the client. Okay, so and apart from this, like what is the issuer URI, like what is, like this is the URL of the authorization server uh, through which we are connecting our client. Okay, so this information is required out there. Okay, uh, login success handle and the logout success handler, why those are required. Okay, so I created a login success handler, like after login, uh, which page or which URL I want to redirect to. So let's see what I have written in the uh, login success handler. Okay, so we have login success handler. So what I'm doing, like I'm getting a, so what is required, like I created a component. Okay, and I have implemented authentication success handler. So as soon as you will implement this particular interface, then you have to override this particular method where you can do the post login success operations. Like what I'm doing out here, I'm getting the saved request, and from the saved request I'm getting the redirected URL, and I'm using that redirected URL. So basically what I'm trying to do out here, like this is my application URL, localhost 8080. Suppose if I try to hit with the hello endpoint, then I should be redirected. Before login, if I try to hit this particular URL, post login I should be redirected to the same URL. So that's what I'm trying to do, like I'm getting the Spring saved request and I'm redirecting back to that. Okay, so that's what I'm doing in the login success handler. Okay, then we have a logout handler, like what I'm doing out here in the logout handler. So I'm checking, like who is the, what are the principal values, like authentication. So what you need to do to implement the logout handler, you need to have a controller. Okay, and then you can extend this particular class out here. So let's understand more about logout handler, like what all we did in the logout handler, what we are doing. Like so in logout handler, after logging out from the current Spring context, we should log out from the SSO2. Okay, so what we are doing, we are hitting a API of SSO to log out, I mean to close the session from the side. Okay, so like you can see, I have added a controller here and then extended a Spring context logout handler. So if you log in into it, you will see like how we can implement the logout and all. So this particular method we have to override out here. Okay, so that's what we are doing, we are overriding a method out here, the same method logout. Okay, what we are doing, we are checking this authentication is null or not. If authentication is not null, then we are getting a principal. Principal is a kind of, the object which has the complete detail about the logged in user. Okay, then what we are doing, we are logging out from the invalidate the session and clear the Spring security context. So we are logging out or clearing out the Spring security context, and then we are hitting the through the client registration. Like for the client registration, I have auto wired this client registration repository out here. So through the client registration repository, we can get the issuer. Okay, the same issuer which we have provided in the property file. Okay, and client ID and the return to. Return to is the URL, like once we successfully log out, where the user should return to, I mean redirect to. Okay, so we are creating a logout URL. So logout URL will be like this. Okay, like this. This is the SSO host, then client ID, then return to is the application API. Okay, so that's what we are doing, and then we are hitting the send redirect. Okay, so we are making a logout API through the send redirect call. Okay, so it will go to the SSO and then it will return back to the application to a particular URL. Okay, and in client registration repository, we are pulling the registration ID. I mean a particular client ID which we try to for which we are trying to get the information here. So apart from this, in application we have two endpoints. Okay, the first endpoint is the endpoint with the context URL. So what we are doing whenever we will hit the context URL, okay, this will return as the authentication principal. Okay, so we are using OIDC principal here, and it will return the claims which we are receiving into the principal, because claims also we are getting out from the SSO, and you have seen that information in the property file, like while making a configuration out there, we have shared some of the scopes. So claim is one of the scopes, so we are getting claims from the principal. Okay, and then we have another endpoint which is a hello endpoint, which will return the hello string to us. Okay, and so there should be O2 server also. So I took help of Okta to set up the client out there. Okay, sorry, the server, the application information out there. So in the Okta, you can register your application. Okay, and it will help you to connect with the set up the server for you and connect with that. So you can see I am using this particular application out there, the same client ID. Okay, you can create application from here, and then what all information I have provided, like my domain, it is automatically assigned to me, and then client ID, and then the client secret is automatically assigned. I can use whatever the application logo I want. Okay, and the application type, I provided a regular web application. Okay, allowed callback URLs, like what I'm saying, like post once login is successfully done, this URL should be redirected to. Okay, so this is my local host URL. Okay, and allowed logout URLs, like this one is for login, and this one is for logout, like post logout I should redirect it to this URL. Okay, so the same URL I have added into the return to, where we have configured the return to attribute in the logout success handler. Okay, so this is the only configuration is required, and ID token, refresh time, all sort of things you can configure whatever you need. So this configuration is required to register your application uh, on the auto server. So this is what you do, or you can use any of the other tool to establish your auto server. Okay, and if you need more detail, then you can log in into the okta.com and open ID Connect document, and you can see the complete information is available by the Okta team out here. Okay,
We can access the application with two different URL. One is the with the direct root URL, like we have 8080, and another we have for the API. Okay, so the API will return the hello response, and the context URL will return the principal value. And for logout, we are using a custom URL which is custom logout. So we can use three different URLs. Okay, And the purpose of using the API URL with the login out here, because we want to see after logging into the system, if we are redirecting back to the same URL, then that's a good, because in most of the application user wants to redirect to the same URL where he tried to hit in. Okay, so let's jump to the application and see how it works. So we are trying to hit the same URL, the hello URL. Okay, so as soon as we will hit the URL, we will land to the Okta login page. Okay, and let me open the network call also, where we can see everything as a request, and we can follow the request, like what all requests are being hit from there. Okay, so let's so you can see in the network call, this is the URL which we try to access on the very first, and this is the these are the URLs, different URLs which is being invoked while the login process. You can see authorization or zero, and the authorize URL is to interact with the resource owner and the obtain the authorization grant. So these different URLs being invoked by the while the login process. As I'm already having the credentials, so I will use the same credentials, but you can sign up or you can use the social login to log in the application, I mean in this demo application. So you try with any of these, whatever you like. Okay, signing up is also easy out here. So like I am having a test user one at gmail.com, and then I will provide a password to the login. After providing the credentials, you can see we are successfully logged into the application, and we see the hello response. Okay, and you can see we are redirecting back to the same URL. Even you can see the initiator where chain of request are happening. So you can verify all these things through the tool. Okay, and let's try the custom logout URL and see it is logging out in a right way or not. So as you can see, after hitting the custom logout URL, the application is perfectly logged out, and again for the login URL we are landing back to the application. So you can try in this way, and in the application you can see that there is no session ID. So after the logout, the session ID is being deleted from the Spring context and the SSO2. Okay, let's jump to the uh, Okta developer tool, where we have configured our OAuth application to enable secure access. So you have seen, like in the monitoring URL, we have successfully recently logged in, and you can see on the top we have logged out also. So in the login, we will try to see the session ID which is being created for our client. Okay, as we have seen initially, we have configured a application for OAuth out here. Okay, and the same session ID we will try to see out here. Like you can see that the same session ID is out here with the logout. Okay, so this is how we can verify that the SSO is uh, is deleting our session or not.